with Gabe Farias.
All right, the time is now 6 p.m. Our regular City Council meeting for July 16, 2024 is now in session. First on the agenda is Councilmember Westbrook, who will lead us with the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Please rise.
Do what?
It's space and time.
Yeah, space and time. Yeah, there we go. All right. Heavenly Father, we gather before you today with grateful hearts for the blessings bestowed upon our great nation. As we come together in this council meeting, we lift up prayers for our country, its leaders, and its people. Grant wisdom and discernment to those who guide us, that they may uphold justice, foster unity, and promote the common good. We pray for the health and safety of all those who seek to lead our nation, especially the presidential candidates. May they be guided by integrity, compassion, and a deep commitment to the welfare of all Americans. We also ask for your guidance and blessings upon the leadership of Texas and our local community. May they exemplify the qualities of true statesmanship, courage in adversity, humility in victory, and a steadfast dedication to the well-being of every citizen. Grant us, Lord, the wisdom to make decisions that honor you and benefit all who call this city home. May this meeting be conducted in harmony and with respect for one another. Bless our deliberations and actions today and always. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Councilmember Westbrook. All right, we'll move on. City events and announcements. Announcements of upcoming events. Mr. James.
Thank you, Mayor. We have quite a few. So this coming Thursday, July 18th, as part of Parks Month, we have a glow party. That's 8:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. That's at Windy Swan Memorial Park, 4601 Cherry Tree Drive. Saturday is a star party. That's 7:30 to 9 p.m. at Crescent Bend Nature Park, 12805 Schaefer Road. Tuesday, July 23rd, again, a Parks Month event, the Foam Party, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. That's at Rhine Valley Park at 9958 Mulhouse Drive. Thursday, July 25th, again, a Parks Month event, we have a color fight. That's 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Cypress Point Park, 5526 Cypress Point. We're back there the next night, Friday, July 26th, for sort of a double feature, if you will. At 7 p.m., the Schertz Historic Preservation Committee is doing a trivia event. And then right after that, generally 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., is Movies in the Park, and that is Minions, The Rise of Gru. Saturday the 27th, again, Parks Month, we're doing popsicles, not popsicles, popsicles. That's 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. That's at the dog park, which now you get why it's popsicles. So come get a popsicle for your pup. There's more though. Sunday, July 28th, we have the Owl Prowl. That's 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at Crescent Bend Nature Park. Tuesday, July 30th for Parks Month, we have water games. That's 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Ashley Park, 534 Ashley Park. Friday, August 2nd is the council budget retreat. That starts at 8:30 here in council chambers. Saturday, August 3rd, as you probably all know, is National Watermelon Day. We're going to celebrate that 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. at Pickerel Park. I will tell folks regular pool admission fees do apply to that. And then we're back with City Council August 6th here at 6 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you, Mr. James. That's quite a calendar, yes. Announcements and recognitions by our city manager, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to put a reminder out there that we have this wonderful service in the city of Schertz called the Tool Shed, where members of our community can borrow equipment to do their lawn or maintenance around the house. The building is just right over here, and you can go to our website to sign up for it at schertz.com/toolshed. It's a really neat service that we offer, and just remind folks of that. Also, thank you to the Schertz EMS department and the personnel who are assisting with Hurricane Beryl recovery in Houston. We have 8 personnel that were deployed to Houston, and we've since switched out with others, but they're doing quite a bit to help out with that recovery effort. Also, in the police department, the Teen Academy started this week, and they've gone over things like how to become a police officer, a dispatcher, took a tour of the PD, even got to try on the vest for the officers. And today, the second day, was they learned about the civilian response to active shooter event. It's CRACE, and I actually attended it as well, and it brings situational awareness to the importance of knowing your surroundings and what to do if you find yourself in a situation with an active shooter. Also, the police department is doing a ducky program. So for Jeep enthusiasts, if you find on your Jeep a little rubber ducky, the police department is planting those on cars to surprise people with that. Send them a photo on their Facebook page at hashtag SchertzPD. And also, July 10th was our new canine Sharik's birthday, so he had a bark-tastic second birthday. So there you go. And that's all of my announcements, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Announcements and recognitions by the mayor. You know, a couple of days ago, we celebrated our nation's birthday. And a celebration like this could not have happened without our city staff. Thank you so much for putting this together. And the number of volunteers that helped us throughout the whole day and leading up to those festivities. I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for the community coming out and celebrating our nation's birthday. With that, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is the hearing of residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the city council. Each person is limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council, for the record, please state your name and address. We also have a public hearing. It is your choice. You can speak at the public hearing or at the hearing of residents, or both. The choice is yours. Mayor Pro Tem, please call our first speaker.
Yes, first I have is Daniel Jameson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. I just want to commend the city for the 4th of July parade and the festivities we had down at the park that day. Even my little service animal, she enjoyed the parade up until the fireworks. Then it's like, nope, time to go, get out of here. We'll find out later. And if you missed our chili cook-off, don't be aware or be afraid. We do have those plenty coming up in the near future. We've got our car show coming up in September. We want the community to come out and get involved, and especially the city staff and council. Please, you guys come out and help and look at these vehicles, because, you know, you guys are some of y'all are fellow veterans. Y'all used to seeing the old 1950s souped up cars. These are some really nice cars and trucks from back in that time frame, you know, just to show your age and let you take a look at them. But come out and support the veterans of foreign wars and everything that we're doing. And you know, as we try to partner with the city, we'd like y'all to partner with us. Thank you. And I salute y'all.
Maggie Titterington.
Good evening, Council. First and foremost, before I just kind of get you up to date on some events, I wanted to congratulate Linda Klepper and Ashley Ritchie with EDC and Linda Klepper with Public Affairs on their graduation from our Leadership Corps program today at our luncheon. They just did an awesome job going through the course with the other students, and just very proud of the introductions that they did and just all the input, and hopefully they gleaned a lot of knowledge from meeting the different cities, the different economic developments, the military, and so looking forward to next year's class, and fingers crossed, maybe somebody else from the city will be taking part in that, but just wanted to congratulate them. Very, very proud of their accomplishments. We are having our quarterly business mixer, and Schertz Bank and Trust is one of the partners helping put it on. It'll be at Bluebonnet Palace, and Communities and Schools is also helping to participate in that, and that is going to be from 5:30 to 7 p.m. It's a great way for these businesses to host an event where it's budgeting the event out of 3 pockets and also allowing more of a diverse crowd to come and mix and mingle. So you all are invited. Come on out, 5:30 to 7. On the 31st, we're having our quarterly education class. It is from 8 to 11 a.m., and it is about brand loyalty, not just with your customers that are coming in, but also who you use as a vendor. And so if you want to learn a few things about that and build loyalty, please come on out. You can register online. That is from 8 to 11 a.m., Schertz Civic Center on the 31st. And last but not least, I heard you have a workshop on this day, but August 2nd, we are cutting the ribbon on another medical facility in Schertz, Northeast Orthopedic and Sports Medicine. They're located at 1776 Verde Parkway. That is down Schertz Parkway, taking a right off the road between Amazon and the new buildings that are there. But it's at 4 p.m., so hopefully that'll fit in the schedule. But very excited. We've been working with them, and we've been trying to plan this ribbon cutting for a little bit. So very excited. If you're able to join, that would be great. Thank you.
Hope I get the last name right. Jeff, is it Newstead?
Mayor, Council, I hope this evening finds you all well. My name is Jeff Meanstead. I'm with Roadrunner Towing Service. We have an agenda item tonight. It's item number 19. Roadrunner is honored and thrilled with the recommendation to move forward with the non-consensual tow contract between the City of Schertz and Roadrunner Towing. Just real quick, I've been out here since 2001. We started working with the City of Schertz in 2002. I'm a firm believer that God puts you where you need to be. And to put me in the City of Schertz, the small City of Schertz back then, a little over 20,000 people. It allowed me to grow with the city. And that allowing me to grow with the city gave me the opportunity to purchase equipment and stuff that's needed out on the highways now. We've got these overhead interstates coming through here real soon. We're actually trying to get it in the budget for our second rotator that will allow us to clear the highways just a little bit quicker. The team we have is second to none. All my guys are nationally TIM trains, which is something really big when you're on the highway with fire and law enforcement. Also, we were honored with the award last year, Masters of Chaos. It's for quick clearance and incident management. I hope all of you see the value in Roadrunner Towing, and we can move forward with this evening. Y'all have a great evening.
We'll move on to consent agenda items. These are considered self-explanatory, and information packets are provided to council and available for public viewing. These items require no separate discussion unless requested by council. Item number 1, minutes. Item number 2, resolution number 23, R76. Item number 3, ordinance number 24S140. Item number 4, ordinance number 24S141. Item number 5, ordinance number 24S142. And item number 6, resolution number 24R77. Council, do any of these need to be removed for separate action? See none. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion made by Councilmember Watson, second by Councilmember Westbrook. Council, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote. We have 7 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. Move right along to item number 7, resolution number 24R81, approving authorizing the approval of a development agreement with Charlene E. and Timothy A. Frey and Sandra Reed et al. For approximately 223 acres of land in relationship to the annexation, extraterritorial jurisdiction status, and other matters in connection therewith. Mr. James, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Brian James, Deputy City Manager. So the item you have before you is approval of a resolution or a resolution that would authorize a couple of development agreements, essentially delayed annexation agreements, for two small tracts. You may remember the last council meeting. So what we have are two of the property owners who own approximately 223 acres in total between them. They're, again, requesting that we not annex the actual 1.5 acre piece around the homestead site as part of the agreement, and that would be for a 45-year period. As part of that agreement, though, then they would agree to the annexation of the rest of the property that's generally to be used for agricultural purposes going forward. So again, quickly for folks, generally this is the location on the Ray property. You can see what in green is approximately 1.31 to 1.5 acres really. And then again on the next property, which is the Phi property, it's again a 1.5 acre piece that we would not annex out of a 4 acre piece. So what we would do though is, if this item is approved tonight, then the remainder of the annexations would occur except the remainder of this piece on the Phi property, which would have to come back, run through the process again, just having to get a survey and things like that. There wasn't a way to keep it on tonight. So again, staff is still working with the city attorney, their attorney, making a few tweaks to the agreements, pulling the attachments. But generally it's in the form as presented with you. Again, as I said, need to sort out the acreage and some of the things with a little bit of tweaking of the language. But staff is recommending approval of these, as part of this effort.
All right, thank you, Mr. James. Council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, make a motion to approve Resolution 24R81.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Brown and second by Councilmember Watson. Council, any other comments? We can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 6 ayes, 1 objection. Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 8, ordinance number 24A50. Consider a request for volunteer annexation of approximately 68 acres, known as Comal County, property identification number 79006, Comal County, Texas. Final reading. Mr. James?
So again, this is the annexation. Emily can come up with the presentation on it, and I can see if I can find. I got it. You got it. She's got it.
I got it.
Help me with the graphic.
Mm-hmm. That's the first one.
Yep. So again, it's annexing this property.
Okay. Council, floor is open for discussion. I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
This is the same property that it's owned by the one that we just approved?
So this is one of the Phi tracts. So again, we'll annex 2 of the Phi pieces. I believe it's 6 of the Ray tracts of land. So again, we're leaving out one of the Phi tracts, but we're annexing the rest tonight.
I think for clarification purposes, the item that you just approved is the deferred annexation agreement.
Deferred annexation.
These are the actual annexations
Yes, sir.
themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the final reading of the annexations.
Thank you for the clarity.
Sorry.
All right, Council, any other comments?
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 24A50.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Hayward, second by Councilmember Gibson. Council, any other comments? If you can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 6 ayes, 1 objection. Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 9, ordinance number 24A44. Consider a request for voluntary annexation of approximately 107 acres known as Comel Property Identification Number 79001, Comel County, Texas. Final reading. Mr. James.
Again, Mayor, no, sorry for the confusion before. So this is the annexation that we're doing of one of the Ray tracts of land.
Okay. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Brown.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 24A44.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Brown and second by Councilmember Gibson. Council, any other comments? You can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 6 ayes, 1 objection. Motion passes. Item number 10, ordinance number 24A46. Consider a request for voluntary annexation of approximately 3.1 acres known as Comel County Property Identification Number 78946, Comel County, Texas. Final reading. Mr. James?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the annexation of one of the Ray pieces. You'll notice in the kind of top left-hand corner there, that's the piece that the delayed annexation agreement applied to. So we're annexing the remainder, or this other tract around it.
All right. I don't think didn't pop up on the screen. Council, do you need the
No,
video? No?
it's
Okay.
up behind
It's
us.
up, all right. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Watson.
I motion that we approve ordinance 24A46.
All right, before we have a second, Councilmember, well, there was a, no, never mind.
Second.
The second's been made by Councilmember Hayward. Okay. Motion's been made by Councilmember Watson, second by Councilmember Hayward. Any other comments? Council, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 6 ayes, 1 objection. Motion passes. Item number 11, ordinance number 24A47. Consider a request for voluntary annexation of approximately 8.4 acres known as Comel County Property Identification Number 75480, Comel County, Texas. Final reading. Mr. James.
And again, Mayor, this is the annexation of one of the Ray tracts.
Okay. All right, Council. Councilmember Hayward.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 24A47.
Second.
All right, Councilmember Hayward made motion, second by Councilmember Watson. Council, any other comments? None. If you can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 6 ayes, 1 objection. Motion passes. Item number 12, ordinance number 24A48. Consider a request for voluntary annexation of approximately 4 acres known as Comel County Property Identification Number 78247, Comel County, Texas. Final reading. Mr. James.
Again, this is the Ray tract, approximately 3.87 acres, just next to the one you just annexed.
Councilmember Gibson.
I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance 24-A-48.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Gibson and second by Councilmember Hayward. Council, any other comments? If none, if you can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 6 ayes, 1 objection. Motion passes. Item number 13, ordinance number 24A49. Consider a request for a voluntary annexation of approximately 29 acres known as Comel County Property Identification Number 79009, Comel County, Texas. Final reading. Mr. James.
And this is annexing one of the 5 tracts of land.
Council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Hayward.
I'd like to make the motion to approve ordinance 24A49.
Second.
Have a motion made by Councilmember Hayward, second by Councilmember Watson. Any other comments? Council, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote. We have 6 ayes, 1 objection. Motion passes. All right. We'll move on to item number 14, resolution number 24R60. Ordering the November 5th, 2024 City of Schertz joint general election for Comal County, Bexar County, and Guadalupe County, and making a provision for to conduct the election, authorizing contracts with the county clerk of Comal County and the elections administrator for Bexar and Guadalupe counties to conduct this election, and authorize these elections to be held as joint elections. Ms. Edmondson, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Staff. Before you, I bring Resolution 24R60, ordering the general election for November 5th. The City of Schertz will hold a joint election on November 5th for the purpose of electing council members for Place 6 and Place 7 for a 3-year term, and making provisions to conduct that election and authorizing the election to be held as a joint election.
Thank you, Ms. Edmondson. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Hayward.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 24R60.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Hayward and second by Councilmember Gibson. Any other comments? If none, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objections, motion passes. Item number 15, resolution number 24R61, ordering the November 5th, 2024 City of Schertz special election with Comal County, Bexar County, and Guadalupe County, and making a provision for the conduct of the election, authorizing contracts with the county clerk of Comal County and the elections administrators for Bexar and Guadalupe counties to conduct these elections. Ms. Edmondson, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. For number 15, Resolution 24R61, I'm bringing forward the resolution to order the November 5th City of Schertz special election to consider Home Rule Charter Amendment election with Comal County, Bexar County, and Guadalupe County. The Charter Review Commission met earlier this year and recommended 15 proposed charter amendments for a special election to have the residents vote on these proposed charter amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Edmondson. All right, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Gibson.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 24-R-61.
Second.
All right, motion's made by Councilmember Gibson, second by Councilmember Watson. Council, any other comments? We can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Item number 16 is resolution number 24R80, approving disaster pay policy. This item has been pulled for discussion at a later date, so we'll move on to item number 17. Item number 17, resolution number 24R75, authorizing a water CCN transfer agreement between the City of Selma and the City of Schertz to amend the CCN boundaries and other matters in connection therewith. Floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Williams. This is a water CCN transfer agreement between the City of Selma and the City of Schertz. So this is the area in question. This is the, just drew a blank, I'm sorry. Tejas Way. So it's along Tejas Way. So this area was recently released from the ETJ San Antonio and pulled into the City of Schertz. So this is City of Schertz property. It used to be City of Selma CCN for water, and the City of Schertz is they requested by the developer for the subdivision for the City of Schertz to pick it up. So we'd like to serve our residents. Again, this needs to go through the Public Utility Commission amendment to the CCN boundaries for the City of Selma and the City of Schertz. That's what this agreement is for. It's a tri-party agreement between the developer, the city of Selma, and the city of Schertz. So staff recommends allow the city manager to enter into this agreement.
All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, make a motion to approve Resolution 24R75.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Watson. Council, any other comments? We can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. Item number 18, resolution number 24R79, authorizing the revised bylaws of the Schertz Planning and Zoning Commission and other matters in connection therewith. Mr. Haas.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, Mr. Williams. Resolution 24R79. So there's 3 changes in this resolution to the planning and zoning bylaws. The first one is that the current bylaws have commissioner's appointment expiring on May 31st. Ordinance 22M20 changed the expiration date for the terms of the appointed planning and zoning commissioners from May 31st to June 30th. We have made that proposed change in the bylaws in section 2. You'll see at subsection D there, the term shall expire on June 30th. The second change that we made is in relation to Ordinance 23S29, which was approved by this council on December 5th, 2023, which granted administrative approval authority to staff in relation to subdivision plats. These were UDC amendments that were based off of House Bill 3699, which state law gave administrative approval to subdivision plats. So we adopted that in our UDC ordinance. So this led to less items being on planning and zoning agendas. So we reduced the meetings to once a month, which was reflected in section 3 of the bylaws. And you'll see there in subsection A, the first Wednesday of the month. And finally, the commissioners actually requested a little bit clearer language in regarding abstention votes and how they are counted. In practice, the abstention vote is counted as a no when not legally required. So staff actually aligned planning and zoning bylaws language with Article 9, Section 917 of City Council's Rule of Conduct and Procedure. And you'll see that little quote down here is actually from the City Council Rules of Conduct and Procedure. And what we did on Section 17 in the planning and zoning bylaws is we essentially made that verbatim to align with City Council. The proposed revisions will help align the city's practice and policies, and staff is recommending approval of Resolution 24R79.
Thank you, Mr. Haas. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Hayward.
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 24R79.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Hayward, second by Councilmember Watson. Council, any other comments? None, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. We'll move on to item number 19. We're on record pace here. Resolution number 24R71, approve a service contract for non-consensual towing services between Roadrunner Towing and the City of Schertz to provide record services within the city for public safety. Chief, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and Mr. Williams. I'm Jim Lowry, your Police Chief. This evening, I'm here before you to seek approval for Resolution 24R71, as the Mayor said, to approve service contracts for a non-consensual tow service for the Police Department. Our current contract has been in place since 2012. We have made several amendments, but doing our due diligence to ensure our contracts are meeting our needs as we move into the future. And I take in consideration of the fact in the year 2023, we had over 1,000 non-consensual tows through the police department. The most frequent number on that is our light tows and what we call a typical passenger vehicle. We had 949 tows, a medium tow, 8 tows, and then the heavy, which includes your 18-wheelers, we had 46. We've seen a trending since the last 3 years. We also believe that is going to continue to increase with our construction that is going on and our growth potential here in the city of Schertz. But to ensure that we are meeting our needs, so we also made some adjustments to our current contract, and we sent out an RFP to ensure that our contract, non-consensual contract service could meet multiple and simultaneous services and had minimum equipment to ensure that we were capable of getting our officers and our citizens off the street as quick as we can and open our roadways. We sent this out for an RFP. We had 3 respondents, and it was a unanimous decision through the city employees that did the evaluation. There was a single winner, and we recommend that Roadrunner Towing be awarded this contract services. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chief. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, in our packet, it says that this is not an expenditure contract, it's revenue generating service contract based on the number of non-consensual tows, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we're not paying for this, we actually get a fee back?
Yes, sir. So if I may, is the year before, we took in approximately $12,000, and year to date this year, we've taken in about 82, not throughout the year.
Okay, on the score sheet that was handed out to us right before the meeting, there's a criteria of financial consideration that ranges from $2,700 to $3,200. What is the financial consideration factor?
I'm going to let
Good evening, Council. As you can imagine, this is not like a set fee type of contract, right? So we put out for a whole different list of rates, depending on, as you mentioned, light tow, medium tow, heavy tow, all different kinds of options. And so what you see before you is, and I'm happy to send out to Council, I have a more detailed analysis of the financials when we compare apples to apples. Those numbers come from this analysis, but is a representation of the lowest price, the second lowest price, and the third lowest priced.
I don't understand what you mean by lowest price, because it's a no expenditure contract.
Right, but there's still an expense to the citizen who's going to be having their vehicle towed, and so we used that for the price.
Okay, so where we see, without mentioning names, I don't want to get into that, but where we see $2,700, that's the average or typical fee that might be applicable to somebody that gets their car towed?
No, sir, no, sir. No, those numbers
said.
that you see there do not correspond to what a citizen would be paying to have their car towed. Of course, it's based on mileage rates and then light, medium, or heavy tow. Those numbers are actually based on medium, which is the most common. And like I said, I have all of the numbers here that I can send out to you.
For clarification, is it possible that it's the individual rates for the type of tows and service provided times an estimated amount of tows or a historical average of tows?
Yes, it is.
To calculate a total that would be charged to the resident or person who has their car towed?
Those numbers are based on, again, yes, the average number of miles towed and the rate of the tow.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's a way for you to evaluate side by side the different companies, and if we were to apply it in real life, how they would compare?
I mean, exactly. I mean, if you just look at...
Stop. My point is this. In our packet, it says that this was a revenue generator, that there's not an expenditure for the city. I get that. I'm just trying to figure out on the sheet that we got tonight, that wasn't in our packet, where it says financial consideration, you've got entries from 2,700 to 3,200, and the highest score is with the lowest number. So that doesn't sort of match up with what's in our packet that talks about it's a revenue generator for the city. That's why I was seeing a disconnect on this. So what you're saying is the lower number is the better number.
Yes, sir.
But that has nothing to do with the
evaluation
potential revenue generated by the city.
No.
Thank you, that's it.
No problem.
Any other comments? Councilmember Watson.
I motion that we approve Resolution 24R71.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Watson, second by Councilmember Davis. Any other comments? If none, if you can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 20, resolution number 24R78, authorizing city support for state legislation that would establish a dedicated funding mechanism for the disabled veterans homestead exemption during the 89th legislative session of the state of Texas. Ms. Klepper, floor is yours.
Affairs Director. I am bringing forward a resolution asking for support for state legislation that would establish funding at the state level for the DVHS exemption. This was created some years ago, and in the city of Schertz, we are disproportionately impacted by the exemption. It is not that we do not support it, because of course we do support our veterans and we do support this exemption. However, we feel there should be funding at the state level, greater funding, because there is a level of funding, it's very limited at the moment, for cities like ours that are disproportionately impacted. 19% of our homestead residences have the 100% DVHS exemption, and in this current fiscal year, we will exempt approximately $4 million. In 2023, there was legislation brought about, and it went past the House. Didn't quite pass all the way through, but it would have created a funding mechanism for this that is greater than the benefit that exists today. And so this is a resolution specific to this issue. But as you know, legislative affairs is something I've been tasked with, and so we'll be coming back probably towards the end of this year with a full legislative agenda. But this one is in order for us to take this to a TML policy summit. That's happening next month. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Klepper. All right, council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, make a motion to approve Resolution 24R78.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Gibson. Council, any other comments?
I just want to say, Bennett already knows it's coming because we talked about it. So I think we'll be able to get some mileage on that.
All right, council, please cast your vote. We can publish the vote. We have 7 ayes, no objections. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item number 21, interview committee process and procedures discussion and/or action of the interview committee process and procedures. Ms. Edmondson and Councilmember Hayward.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City staff. I was just up here to introduce this particular item for discussion and/or possible action about discussing the interview committee process and procedure. One of the key things that they would like, I believe that needs to be discussed would be defining the composition of the interview committee members, and then also create a process and procedure for appointments, reappointments of applicants for all city boards, commissions, and committees. I did attach a draft copy of what Chair Hayward presented, and that is probably something to help lead your discussion.
All right, Councilmember Hayward, any comments before we open it up to the floor?
No, it's just something we needed to get done for this committee.
Council, any other comments? Councilmember Gibson. There's not really a motion to approve anything here in this situation. It's just recommendations, I believe. Am I correct?
No recommendations here.
Any comments regarding the procedures? I don't see any, so I think in line with no other comments, this council just has given a thumbs up to move forward on.
So, Mayor, I think it was anticipated that there would be action on this item of approving the changes. Is that not?
Okay. Right.
Do we?
Okay. Council, is there a motion to approve the changes made?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilmember Gibson, second by Councilmember Hayward. Any other comments? Please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. Right, we have a public hearing scheduled today, ordinance number 24M-124. Conducted public hearing to amend the City of Schertz Code of Ordinances and certain other ordinances by amending and establishing fees for certain licenses, permits, and other services. This is our first reading. Mr. Walters, the floor is yours.
All right, good evening. My name is James Walters. I'm the Finance Director here for the City of Schertz. I'm going to bring up my summary sheet on the proposed changes to the fee schedule for this year. So every year, the city brings to council changes of fees, usually once a year, and we do it all at once. And so for this year, we have not a whole lot of different fee changes, but they cover a wide variety of topics. The first one we're going to look at is the changes to the library overdue fines. And we're actually going to propose to eliminate those fines. What the library and libraries around Texas and around the nation have found is fines actually prevent folks from coming back to the library and utilizing the services, which is what the city wants. So whether or not it's an accident or on purpose, they accumulate fines, and then that becomes a driver for them to kind of stay away. And we're not talking large dollar amounts here, something like $10, $20, $40. So while this would be a loss of revenue for the city, we believe it'll increase participation in the library and provide a better service to the public. And libraries haven't noticed a big decline in sort of quality or damages or anything like that. So this is really trying to get people back into the library. The only thing we do have is if there are damages or complete losses on some items, we're still going to keep some of those. But as far as, hey, we're going to reduce the actual overdue fines. The other thing that helps, and I apologize, on the backtrack, the other thing reducing or limiting the fines help with is actually encourages those folks to actually bring the item back. And then we're not doing, not only then will we have to out the item to have to repurchase it, the overdue fines a lot of times weed out that money as well. So this encourages folks to bring back the items, saves us money as far as purchasing and replacing those items, as well as getting folks back into the library and utilizing the services. Just like as it mentions here, if an item is lost and paid for, overdue fines against the thing are waived. That's what we really want. We want the item back and we want the people back. And the fines end up prohibiting that. Under the parks, so the without facilities, we no longer have those pavilion kind of options. So we're going to remove those from the fee schedule. And we're also we're proposing to increase the rates for the for the resident and the non-resident for the large pavilion to match local, to match or get closer to the matching rates that are seen in the area. Under neighborhood services, the food establishment permits, we're going to rearrange those. Instead of having all these different brackets with the different fees, as you see over here on the left, change it just to 2 brackets. If you have 1 to 10 employees or 11 or more employees, those would be the rates. Overall, it would increase the rates for some of the food establishments in the city, but our rates are still a lot less than what you'd see in larger cities like San Antonio. The mobile vendors, increasing that one from 100 to 250. Very large percentage increase. We are still lower than some of our neighbor cities, a little bit higher maybe than the state. But one of the things we do in the city is if you get a permit to operate a mobile vendor from another entity, we will accept that for a small registration fee of about $25. So you just come in, show us that you have a permit, pay a $25, and then we're not making you get a permit from us as well. So we're just getting a lot of folks kind of come in like, oh, this is right, and then get a permit here and then take that elsewhere, and other folks in cities will accept that. So this kind of gets us more in line with what everyone else is doing. We're also removing the sanitation inspection fee for outside the city. This was a fee that was put in place, kind of a lack of sanitarian services in the area many years ago. So we thought if we had extra time, our sanitarian could go out to other communities and provide those services at a slightly higher rate. We actually haven't used that fee or done that service throughout that entire time. So we're just going to remove that and no longer offer that as an option. Under the EMS rates, the actual aid rates have not been changed in about a decade for many of the fees, or even longer. These are the actual, what kind of support you get when you're in the ambulance. We have been changing the mileage rates over the years, but as far as the actual amount of aid, we had not changed. So these are due for an increase. The increase aren't drastic as far as dollar amounts, and they are really low when you compare how long it's been since we actually changed them. We'll continue to look at this as going forward because we don't want to increase so much. Plus, as far as Medicare and other insurance is concerned, they'll only cover so much as well. So this will increase, we expect about $1.2 million in the EMS fund coming up. EMT class rates going from 1,200 to 1,300. We're still seeing a whole lot of demand for that class, and those classes still fill up really quickly. The per capita charges, it's kind of just a reflection of what's in the contracts with the different entities that we provide EMS services for, our neighboring cities, Cibolo, Selma, and then the unincorporated Guadalupe County areas. So if they have a contract, this rate's already in there, but we like to show them the fee schedule as well to be transparent. Under the engineering, we're going to add something that was missed in the last update that we did last year. We want to include the fee on the schedule for lift station plan review and inspections. So these items are very important to the city's infrastructure. We do perform these services and we want them to be reflected on the fee schedule. The wastewater lift station helps transport that waste generally uphill and away from us. And we want that to be built in a way that's designed properly and inspected properly so we know it's going to last before we accept it. Other areas, if you look in this particular area later in the fee schedule, these fees are comparable to the other ones of similar type as well. Under the drainage, they're going to update how the drainage review goes. So for the drainage permit, the floodplain permit for a new residential or new commercial structure, we're changing that to be only new. So before that was everything, they would just get this permit. There's really more of a floodplain development review fee. So if it's not a new construction, it'll fall under the review going forward. So any of you submit designs or plans for changing and making them reconstruction or moving dirt basically into the areas, it would instead falling under a drainage permit, it will fall under a floodplain development review. Under the utility billing, changing a couple of the verbiage, but the effect is the same. Really what we had to do was now we have a community or a neighborhood in the city of Schertz that Schertz does not actually provide water for, but we're still providing garbage and sewer. So GVSUD actually provides water for a neighborhood in the city of Schertz, but all of our deposits were based on providing water, garbage, and sewer. So for those folks in the area, we don't think it's fair to continually charge a higher deposit when they're not getting the full services with us. So with that, we plan to set a deposit of $75, and that would be for everything but water. So instead of the $125, it would be $75. And the deposits are refundable and returned with good payment history. For the other area that's more of a large impact fee to the fee schedule will be the sewer rates and how they're broken down. So we have the base fee which customers get charged each month. And then there's two parts to the per 1,000 gallons fee. The line maintenance where the city gets, and then the amount that goes to the provider, such as CCMA, who actually treats the wastewater. Those combined is this one. So you actually see the $15.92 as a base, and then $5.24 per 1,000 gallons for up to the first 12,000 gallons. This is a 3% increase listed here. And then the business as well, slightly higher starting amounts for the base, same general amount for the per 1,000 gallons, that's also a 3% increase, as well as for the YMCA. For the water services, following the 5-year rate plan that we had done last year, this will be another 2% increase on the water rates. This is the base fee based on the meter size, and then this is the per 1,000 gallons. So Majority of citizens in the city of Schertz have a base fee of $26.89, so no matter how much water is used in the month, that's the starting amount. So if they use 0, they'll still get the $26.89. And then for every 1,000 gallons after that, they get charged $3.32 for the first 6,000. For the next 6,000, it's $3.71, and so on. This is following the previously adopted rate plan of 2% increase. Same as the fire hydrant meter. One of the areas that we do have, the Public Works Building offers bulk water sales at their facility. This was not on the fee schedule previously, so we're going to add it. We're getting a much higher demand nowadays for bulk water sales. Before, we had just a couple people coming up over at our commercial place, filling up some water. Now we're having a couple companies come out and bring big tanker trucks and fill up multiple times. So this is a starting to get us on the fee schedule. And then depending on how much usage goes on, we'll look at increasing or adjusting the fee this next year. There's a wholesale and updating the wholesale distribution water rates as well. And then those are the fee schedule changes for this year. Again, so the larger dollar amounts of the emergency services and the water and sewer, looking at an average resident, maybe 10,000 gallons of water, which is about 3 people living in the house, maybe plus some sprinkler usage, and then 5,000 gallons of sewer, which would be kind of an average family. The effect per month would be about $2.44 increase on the bill. Are there any questions over the fiscal impact or how some of the fees work? I can help answer, or we have also the department heads here that can provide more insight.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. All right, this item is on the agenda as an open public hearing. Is there anyone in attendance who'd like to say a few words regarding this subject? Going once? Going twice? All right, public hearing is closed. Council, floor is open for discussion. I have a couple of items. If you go back to the spreadsheet you had there.
Yes, sir.
And if we go down to EMS, and you're going from the $17 to $17.52, is that the rate that we were going to provide for cities that use our services?
Yes, sir. So they get per capita, so based on population, that's the rate we multiply their population against to determine their annual payments.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that clarification. If you go down to the bulk water, where it says $90, is that per visit?
Sorry, that would be a deposit. I apologize for this. I will get this fixed on the last one. Let's lift those down. They did not match up very well. Yeah, so that was in his deposit, $50 service charge, and then those are the rates per thousand. Or the base fee and then the rate per thousand.
Oh, okay, got it.
That's a good catch. I'll make sure we make a note of that.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve ordinance 24M124.
Second.
Have a motion made by Councilmember Brown, second by Councilmember Gibson. Any other comments? You can please cast your vote. We can publish the vote, please. We have 7 ayes, no objections. Motion passes. Right. We'll move on. Item number 23, Street Preservation and Maintenance Workshop. These are just informational items. No.
Mayor, while they're getting set up, I might make a comment. As you all are aware, street maintenance is a very high priority for the city. It was actually identified as number 2 in the budget process this year. And we were making concerted effort to really attack and do the best job that we can. And what I've asked staff to do is come and report to the council progress. They've developed a really nice dashboard, couple of dashboards to track that progress, as well as to be able to make that available for you as well as for the public to see a visual representation and to be able to actually walk through that information pretty easily. So John's going to do a little bit of background on the program itself, the SPAN program itself, and then they're going to show you the dashboards.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I don't have a pun tonight, but I have a quandary for you. Why are there interstate highways in Hawaii? We're going to talk briefly about pavement distresses. When we talk about this is things like patches, rutting, cracking. We call alligator cracking, that as it gets more severe, it becomes a pothole. And you can have streets as they get in more poor condition or they deteriorate. You have patches on top of patches and a wide variety of different failures or distresses in the street. All of that goes in to create a numerical score between a 0 and 100 called a PCI, or Pavement Condition Index. And if you look at the curve, this is a typical deterioration curve for streets. Starts out at 100, nothing can be perfect for very long, so it takes a little bit of a dip, but then you have a long period of time where the PCI score doesn't change a whole lot. Then all of a sudden that curve noses over, and then in a short period of time, you lose a lot of your PCI score. So what pavement preservation does is you want to make an investment, a periodic investment, at that tipping point where that curve starts to steepen. Because if you make an investment there, it costs much less per square foot than if you let the street deteriorate completely to failure and then have to completely reconstruct it. So this is how it looks over time. If you do that periodic investment, you can maintain your street in a better condition, but it also saves you money over the long term versus letting it go to complete failure and having to reconstruct it. So what do we do when we talk about pavement preservation? We do surface treatments. Surface treatments include slurry seal and micropaving, which are similar applications. It's a sand oil mixture that's squeegeed onto the surface of the street. The difference is the thickness and the size of the aggregate. Micropaving is thicker. It's designed to hold up to higher volume streets. And higher volume streets can do a mill and overlay. It's a more expensive operation. That's where we grind off part of the surface and we put a new layer of pavement on top. Another surface treatment is chip seal. Those would be more appropriate on a lower volume roadway, not in a neighborhood where you don't have homes fronting on the streets, where a conventional neighborhood, you use your streets for recreational activity. And then beyond just the preservation, we get not quite reconstruction, but in between what we call rehabilitation, where basically we're removing the entire layer of pavement off the street, cement stabilizing or lime stabilizing the material that's underneath, and putting new pavement on top. So how do we select what treatment we're going to use on a given street? Well, a surface seal, a slurry seal or a chip seal, those are more for your lower volume roadways, local streets, roadways with fewer turning movements. If you have a lot of turning movements, that puts stress on just that thin layer, and you don't get the life expectancy out of it you would want. Mill and overlay and micropaving kind of go hand in hand. You use those on a higher volume roadway where you have more turning movements like collectors and arterials, where if you just did a slurry seal or a chip seal, you wouldn't get the service life out of it that you want. And there are other strategies out there. Rehabilitation, reconstruction, doing different things. It really depends on what's underneath the pavement and what your traffic loading is. So when we hit a street that doesn't fit one of those resurfacing elements, we do geotechnical investigation on it to find out what is the most appropriate repair strategy from that point. Can we just do rehabilitation, or do we need to do something more extensive? And how do we select our projects? The first thing we select them is based on that PCI score. And the reason why we use that score is it's objective. It takes, kind of our personal feelings or thoughts about the street out of the equation. And we also look for clusters of streets that have similar PCI scores so they're close to that tipping point, so we get some economies of scale. If you do one street here, another street over there, the contractor has to move around a lot to do all the work, your prices are going to be a little higher. And we also want to try to complete a full neighborhood all at once. We don't want to come into a neighborhood one year, then come back a year or two later and do some more streets. We'd rather go in, take care of all of them at once, and move on to another neighborhood. But then we also need to be cognizant of other efforts, like utility replacements. We don't want to resurface a street and then 2 years later have Public Works say, we need to replace the water mains. Now we're going to dig it up to replace the water main. So we coordinate our efforts with those types of projects. We'll delay things so we don't have that situation. We also take into consideration feedback from staff and the public. You know, the public is good about notifying us of streets that are in poor condition, so we do factor that into our selection process. And the final item is budget constraints. We only have a certain amount of money every year to do this work, so sometimes we shoot for the stars, but if our bid prices come up high, or some streets have more prep work we need that needs to be done, we have to bump some to a subsequent year in order to stay within budget. So this is the 2024 list with the caveat, we're in design right now. We're going to be heading to bid on the resurfacing component here later this month, and we may have to tweak this list based on our bid prices so we can stay within budget. And all this information is available on our CIP dashboard. So bear with me just a quick second. This is the CIP dashboard. And so when it comes up, you can zoom in, you can click on different sections. If we click on this roadway here, it pops up information about the project. This is part of our 2024 SPAM resurfacing project. So all of the projects are on there. And you can also select from this side over here, and it zooms out and highlights all of those streets that are in that project. I apologize, we'll do that again. So all of these that are highlighted are in the project. So we have work up in Northcliffe. We have the micro surfacing on Schertz Parkway from Woodland Oaks to 35, Schertz Forest, and the other neighborhoods. You can drag the map around, you can see where we're planning to do the work. Also in our list is Buffalo Valley South. This is a more comprehensive project. These streets have to be rehabilitated, but we're having to replace the water and sewer lines. So it's going to be a larger project where all this stuff's going to happen all at the same time. The goal is, this project is also in design. Design should be completed so we can go out to bid right before the fiscal year changes. So when we get into the next fiscal year, we can start construction on that. They'll replace the underground utilities and then we'll rehab the streets. Lower Seguin Road is one that we're actively working on, and Lookout Road reconstruction is another one that's also in design, that we're close to having the design done. Once it's done, we'll go out to bid on that. And with that, I'll turn things over to Public Works for the maintenance part of the program.
Good evening again, Larry Bush, Public Works Director. This is our streets maintenance dashboard. As you can see, it's fairly similar. Good folks at our GIS department, Internal Services, helped us out. So this is a brand new dashboard that was developed over a few months earlier this year. And again, it's just meant to capture kind of work we've done. So you saw a lot of future projects on there. Of course, we're maintenance-oriented reactive, so this is capturing work we've done. It's kind of broke up into the 4 categories. You see the Potholes, which is a big thing. Spent a lot of time on that, especially it's been a rainy year, and so potholes open up everywhere. The same potholes open up, unfortunately, a lot of times. So that's one of the bigger things folks call in. Streets issues, that's kind of just larger streets issues. So if we need to do a level up asphalt work around manholes or just a larger street repair, that kind of fits in that category. Sidewalk issues, another big one. It kind of captures a little more concrete work, but by and large, sidewalk issues are what folks see, right? The sidewalk's broke in front of your home, a big gap, it's a tripping hazard, so that's what folks call in for. A little bit of curb work included in that as well. And then other issues are just kind of other, again, other things that pop up. So trees blocking signs, handrails that are adjacent to roads, stuff like that that we do maintenance. So again, this is the pothole. We started capturing data in the very end of April this year, and so this is only a little over about 3 months worth of data, 1 quarter's worth of data. And then but we haven't set in place, move forward, and we can start tracking. So we'll be able to present better going forward. It's stuff we do, again, on a daily basis. We just haven't had this dashboard to present it. So this dashboard's set to date, so it has January, but I'll go ahead and just type in kind of the end of our work last month, and so it changes the, sorry. So towards the end of last month, again, that was the first capture period. Going forward, we'll kind of start in July, move forward, kind of do it on a quarterly basis. You see the numbers change just a little bit. A lot of that data was, of course, collected in that past time segment because we're not very far into July. So 323 potholes, 38 major streets maintenance issues, 24 sidewalks, and then 14 of the other ones. Can zoom in just a little bit. So this dashboard is created. It's collected. The information is collected on an app. And then it gets populated into this dashboard. And so if you see this kind of purple color, that's the streets maintenance one. So this was a level up, kind of the edge of the road around a sewer manhole. This is kind of a bigger patch, so you can see that's a long section of road in front of a couple residences, so a larger area maintained. Let's see, we can zoom in just some. It's a section of sidewalk that was redone, so that'll fit into the sidewalk issues category. That's the green. If I just zoom out a little bit, you can see the blue is the bulk of it. Of course, that's all the pothole work that's done around the city. It's targeted kind of in, in older areas, roadways that were, especially down south, in the county-built roadways that we're still maintaining. We haven't done major work in up there at Old Wiederstein Road, just off of Schertz Parkway. And so you can see that will be the bulk of the data going forward. And then other issues, again, that just kind of dappled around town just to capture a few other things that keep our crews busy. So again, just to go through the categories again, just to give some more pictures to it. So potholes, of course, that's one of the big ones that folks call in about. Up to this date, we generally do just what we call pothole patching, and so that's it's a UPM. So it's a cold mixed material with an oil, a binder, and we put it in the road and we pack it in there, and then unfortunately it just doesn't last that long. So it's a quick repair to get that major pothole. So it won't cause damage to vehicles. It keeps the road in place. Unfortunately, we get a lot of rain like we have this year, or a lot of heavy vehicle traffic or turning movements. It drags that stuff out of the pothole, right? So going forward, we have this other category, be pothole repair, and that will be repairing it correctly. So cutting out making square edges, digging out the loose material in the roll, and putting hot mix in. So that's that asphalt patch truck that we had in the budget this year. We can carry hot mix around. We can repair them. Of course, it takes quite a bit longer, but hopefully we won't have to go back to these areas quite often, right? Still waiting on that truck. It's in development. Actually should be hitting the San Antonio area for final QC in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. So hopefully we're seeing that on the street before August. Again, just some other examples of concrete work. So you can see some sidewalk work in the upper left-hand corner. That was on Woodland Oaks. Farther down, that's in front of the park. And then just handrail streets work that was done. And this is one of the larger repair areas that we have. So you can just see a before and after picture. Also, with the program, we're working on ramping up our crack seal program. So we have, aging streets. So this is part of that preventive curve that John was talking about, going in there and crack sealing areas before they open up. The weather gets into increase, it gets in that base layer, and the road kind of falls apart. So to year to date, we've done about 8.4 miles of roadway. And this was in the capture period, a little bit done toward the beginning of the year that we will capture on our next presentation. So these just some of the areas of major street repairs of folks that call in. So those are kind of the hot zones. Again, those are largely residential areas. We do some other level up. We've done some level up work on Bell North and commercial areas too, but wanted to show that residential list because those are the folks that call in regularly, right? And just some data for you. So this year to date, we've actually put out 286 tons of asphalt, 54 tons of UPM, and again, that's patch material. And so just put it in the hole, and then, the rainy period, sometimes we're revisiting those same holes all the time, right? So 54 tons of that, and then crack seal, those 8.4 miles, that's 648 boxes, and so they come in pallets, so it's a lot of material going into the road. That's it, I guess.
Thank you. All right, Council, floor is open for discussion. Councilmember Davis.
I like the dashboards. That's a lot of great information, and I think it's a great way to keep everybody up to speed. One of the ongoing conversations that we've had over the past couple of years deals with sidewalks. We've got a category in there where we talk about sidewalk repairs, and you got some great pictures in there. But more specifically, as we put in a new development, the standard is we put sidewalks on both sides of the street, but we've got a significant portion of old Schertz in the center part of the city that we've got streets and roads with sidewalks on only on one side of the street, some streets with no sidewalks at all. Is there a way we can capture that same issue on these dashboards, indicating where there are no sidewalks, and then, filling in the estimated numbers like we had on the SPAM one, so that council going forward can consider that as we look at our budget process to look at some of these sidewalk issues. For example, we did do the one grant, I guess it was with the walking to school. So there are funding opportunities out there in various venues to try to address those problems. Some of them may be addressed with a street reconstruction where the street's getting redone, and we may put sidewalks in at that time as part of that roadway program. But there are other ones that maybe the street's already been done. It's already had a slurry seal or something else, and yet there are still no sidewalks for the residents to walk on in that center part of the town.
So as you mentioned, we have put in for some grants. So we're currently, that's one of the things we've been working on for a little while, is kind of capturing those areas. As you mentioned, Aviation Heights area and the North Cliff area. So there's a lot of sidewalk gaps, particularly in those areas, but also in other portions of town that were developed kind of before the recent code requirements, right? And so we're working on that. So the funds, we kind of set aside, we concentrate on roadway repairs, sidewalk repairs with that. But that's certainly something we looked at. We put in for a grant last year. I think unfortunately we didn't get it. I think we're going to put it in for it again this year. And then
But it sounds like what you're asking for is, we just need to understand the nature of the problem and the extent. So what we can do is come back to you probably next quarter. We'll have a map that shows you where we've got gaps in sidewalks on roads that under today's standards would have them, and then give you a list of how many linear miles that is, so you guys understand, all right, it's X number of miles or Y number. We can have that for you.
To me, it's one of those things where, well, obviously, it's not going to get fixed today or tomorrow, but if you don't take action to at least work on it over a period of time, and we'll just stay where we're at. So, yeah, that would be perfect.
We can have that next quarter.
Council, any other comments? I have a question. What is the current CPI that we're using? The PCI, Pavement Condition Index. What is the current
From
one?
about 65 and higher are candidates for resurfacing or rehabilitation.
But what's the date, the actual?
The data?
Yes, when that was captured.
The PCI data that we're using was July 2022 when we did the citywide driving, where it was a semi-automated collection where we collected distress information on 100% of our streets in the community.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Hayward.
Yes, going forward, I'm wondering, is it something we need to start looking at as far as becoming members of NLC? Because in our last board meeting, there were different entities or cities who were members of NLC, and they got infrastructure money, grants, and they actually helped them go through to get the money to get the grants for sidewalks, roads, and different things. So I'm wondering if that's something that we might want to look into to see if it's advantageous for our city, because I know it's not a lot, but it's something, because I think New Braunfels got like $180,000 to do something, and other cities are getting grants from them, and then they actually have someone that works through the whole thing to try to get you that funding.
Absolutely, I'm always looking for more money to spend on our streets. Our finance director will tell you that. I'm about ready to grab him by the ankle, start shaking to find how much change I can get so we can do more slurry seal.
Right, thank you. Any other comments, council? None, all right, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to item number 24, Public Works Design Guide Workshop. Ms. Woodley.
It's this one. That guy? Okay. All right. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kathy Woodley, City Engineer. I'm going to talk to you about our proposed Public Works Design Guide update. And unlike these guys, I do not want to spend money fixing roads. So, part of what we're going to talk about here is increasing some of our standards for all of our infrastructure, but roads is one of them. And to let you know where we are in the process, we're briefing you on this right now. We've been working on it for quite some time. We do plan to take this out and have some stakeholder meetings with the development community, but we wanted to give you a sort of a sneak peek of the changes that we have proposed at this point, and we'll come back after we get input. We'll go to P&Z first, and then come back and make recommendations for ordinance change to adopt the update. So to let you know what the Public Works Design Guide is, we have something that you'll see referenced in the Code of Ordinances and in the UDC called the Public Works Specifications Manual. And that actually isn't one single document. It's made up of a number of documents, one being the Public Works Design Guide, which establishes standard principles, criteria, and practices for the design of infrastructure, and also to protect and preserve the public welfare.
We also have technical specifications, and those are the really technical, they are named that for a reason, details of specific material and workmanship requirements for infrastructure projects, and our standard construction details, which are generally a graphic representation of different specifications for construction. So this is the first update that has been done since 2016. Until recently, we were able to update the manual administratively, but with the new state laws that have passed, we do need to have design standards blessed and adopted by City Council. The biggest parts of the update include cleanup of typos and inconsistencies within the design guide itself, and also between documents, between the design guide, code of ordinances, the master thoroughfare plan, and other documents. We clarified some vague guidance. We sometimes run into issues where there's something that seems perfectly clear to us, but then a design engineer comes in and explains why it's not clear, or they read it a different way. So we tried to clean up a lot of that. And we established increased standards for higher quality, more sustainable infrastructure. In section 1 of the design guide, we clarified the applicability of the design standards generally to public development, but it also applies to private development in some cases where there are connections to that public infrastructure. In section 2, we updated the required submission of plans to be digital. We mirrored a requirement in the city code requiring engineered plans for retaining walls, and we added the requirement of profiles for water mains slightly smaller than what was required before. Some of this is extremely dry, and I apologize for that. I don't have pictures. I don't have anything super fun. Just want to acknowledge that this is a little bit dry, but it's really important stuff. And as we go through here, I did use the blue colored text to identify those particular items that will likely cause some consternation with some of the development community, generally because with increased standards, it generally costs more to build certain things. And I want to highlight them in anticipation, hopefully not, hopefully the developers will recognize that they want to build a good product also, but these might be the things that we get a little bit of pushback on. So for pavement design, we increased the pavement design parameters related to loading and structural numbers. We're getting more traffic and heavier vehicles, so we really need to increase the loading requirements. We also did remove the preference against the use of lime for subgrade stabilization. That was not allowed by policy and by the design guide for a number of years, but we've reestablished it as an alternative. As far as streets layout, we revised the specifications to be consistent with the master thoroughfare plan. Nomenclature in particular, I'm trying to think of an example. So previously we maybe had a secondary arterial, a major arterial, minor arterial, principal arterial, so we cleaned it up so that we're using the same nomenclature to mean the different street sections in all of our documents. We increased the minimum allowable pavement slopes. This is kind of a big one, and this is really important. It's related to drainage and constructibility. What happens to a lot of our streets here in Schertz is they're used as stormwater conveyance. Instead of, we're very, very flat. We don't have a lot of opportunity for channelization like some other communities do. And so we use our streets to carry runoff. And if they're not set to an adequate slope, the water sits in the streets. It's extremely difficult to construct a street to the slopes that we allow now, a minimum slope being 0.5%, which to the average person seems flat, and it is flat. And trying to construct that to make sure that the water is not going to sit in the street, that it's actually going to continue to flow, is extremely difficult for the contractors to do. So we end up all over town, after it rains, you have what we call bird baths. and ponding. That water sits there, it gets into these cracks that we looked at in the last PowerPoint, and it seeps into the base. The streets start to deteriorate much more quickly than they should. So we are increasing that minimum allowable pavement slope to 1%. That's still an extremely flat slope, but it is more constructible and it will cause the roads to drain better. We're adding the limitation of responsibility of roadway dedication and pavement based on the limitation of the current state statute. We added a reference to the multi-use path. We didn't have those before. It was just the 6 or 5 foot sidewalks. We increased the strength of concrete for sidewalks and alleys and removed provisions related to overhead utilities in alleys. It was just kind of an antiquated section that we don't need. We did remove reference to geogrid for use as a mitigation technique for soils with high plasticity or swelling soils. It's not really appropriate for that, and that was mentioned in one section, so we removed that. We are increasing our required testing frequency for roadway construction. That's another kind of big one. Yes, it costs a little bit more during the construction process, but without that, we believe that we are missing the proper compaction that's needed for the roads to be constructed properly. We made updates to our storm drainage requirements. In the general section, we clarified design frequency requirements. The design frequency is the easiest one to say is the 100-year event. That is a storm that has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year. And so a 25-year storm has a, help me out with my math here, 25, it's math, I can't do math. What percent? 4% chance? 4% chance of happening in any given year. I apologize, that's so embarrassing. In any case, the lower the year, so the 2-year storm, for example, is much more frequent. You'll actually see 2-year storms every 2 years, theoretically, but probably more than once a year lately, and we all know climate change is coming. In any case, we require certain frequency design capacities in our system, and we clarified when it's required for something to be designed for the 100-year storm, which is a bigger event, and when it's required for it to be designed maybe only to the 25-year. We added an explicit requirement for stormwater discharge to mimic existing or pre-developed flow characteristics so as not to cause adverse impact to downstream property. We've always had the specific rule that flow rate discharged after development has to be controlled so that the flow rate is no more than it was before development. But it's not good enough to just say that that flow rate has to remain a certain rate. Also the way it discharges, and that's a lot of property discharges as sheet flow across property lines. And when a development is done, they build a detention pond, it comes out of that pond at a point. So you've got lots more water at one point instead of spread out the way it was before. So we're working to require that condition that it was before development to be mimicked more. This will just give us an opportunity to be more able to enforce that than we are able to today. We're working toward our requirements to meet MS4 requirements by adding stronger encouragement of provision for post-construction water quality best management practices and the requirement that a consideration is given to future retrofit of a facility to meet future water quality standards. Let's see, we did more with storm drainage. We added a statement disallowing the use of a particular computing method for the stormwater runoff. We reduced the size of a drainage area that's considered small from 200 acres to 50 acres and disallowed the use of the rational method for peak flow calculation if the time of concentration is greater than 20 minutes. So I'm getting kind of technical here, but we can talk about it if you're interested in understanding what all of it is. We removed reference to city-maintained hydrologic and hydraulic models. We do not, in fact, maintain those. And we specified a minimum total time of concentration as 5 minutes. We reduced the maximum distance allowable for time of sheet flow and time of concentration calculations from 300 feet to 100 feet. So we're trying to cut down on some of the strategies that we find used sometimes to decrease the amount of volume required for detention and to be more conservative in the runoff calculations. Something that's extremely important, and we're finally doing it, is adopting the NOAA Atlas 14 precipitation frequency data for stormwater runoff calculations. That is some data that NOAA came out with a number of years ago, and their increased intensity and frequency rainfall values that will allow us to have the stormwater facilities designed somewhat closer to actual storm events that we're seeing today. And they're probably even higher today than they were a couple years ago when NOAA came out with this data, but at least this will get us a little bit closer. We increased the design loading of crossings, culverts, and bridges. We increased freeboard depth required for channels between 5 and 10 feet deep. We decreased allowable earthen channel side slopes from 3 to 1 to 4 to 1. We decreased the side slope allowance for railing. We decreased the minimum bottom width of earthen channel where we require a concrete trickle channel from 12 feet to 8 feet. These are all adding additional conservative capacities to channels, as well as making them more maintainable. Particularly the side slope is something that will be a bit of a conversation with the development community, because if you're using a side slope that is flatter than what's currently allowed, it will take up more real estate. There are ways to go about it so that you are using less real estate. There are options. You can concrete a channel or construct it in a different way, but the 3 to 1 is extremely difficult to maintain, and we also see erosion occurring when it's that steep of a slope. We also added the requirement of access manholes at all storm sewer junctions. That's something that is typically provided by a design engineer, but occasionally not. And so by having it here in the requirements, we're able to tell a developer, you must do this. We added the control of the 2-year frequency event to detention facility design. Like I mentioned before, the 2-year event is the most frequent. If that is not controlled, then with the more frequent storms, there's really no control of the additional runoff that comes with the increased impervious cover of a new development. We removed reference to regional detention facilities. That's something that just isn't currently done, isn't really considered in our community at this point. We added additional criteria that has to be met in order for the consideration of a detention facility with a permanent wet pool. Those are generally not recommended if they're properly constructed, designed, constructed, and maintained. They're generally not necessarily problematic, but maintaining those is difficult. And since the maintenance responsibility of these facilities generally falls to homeowners associations, it's setting up for some problems. So we want to have a little bit more ability to refuse allowing those unless more stringent criteria is met. We added a requirement for the provision of adequate space for the transition of flow from a drainage outfall to pre-development conditions prior to leaving the property. And again, that's getting to the sheet flow versus a point discharge from a development. Sanitary sewer, minimum standards. We added the requirement of a property line cleanout on laterals and This is something that we've been requiring by policy, and generally we're able to get compliance on that, but it's now being added to the guide. We added the requirement for sampling port on non-residential laterals, updated the requirement for flowable fill to encapsulate manholes. Previously, it was only required for manholes under pavement. Now it's required for all manholes. And we clarified a waiting period prior to testing after final backfill or pavement construction. Occasionally, if compaction is not done properly, there'll be some deflection of the main or shifting of a main, so we want to make sure we do the testing after all of the construction is complete. Water requirements, we reduced the distance required between fire hydrant and structure from 500 to 400, or as required by the fire marshal. We added a section related to private fire lines, limiting the length of a single connection to a public main to 1,000 feet, and citing references for design criteria and construction specifications. We added the prohibition of domestic connection to dead-end mains and clarified looping requirements. We clarified the requirement for construction of cross-connecting supply and distribution mains, including those on the water master plans and where distance to nearest mains exceeds the minimum. And we added a prohibition of combined domestic and fire service lines for private facilities. We added a default requirement for encasement of pipe beneath commercial driveways with a provision for exception based on certain consideration. We added requirement for encasement of mains crossing existing or future thoroughfare roadways. We added the Schertz connection to the fire hydrant specification. We added a requirement and standards for replacement of asbestos cement pipe when new connection is being made or where cover is decreased over an existing AC main. That material is in the older parts of town there. We still have AC main and it's very brittle. It's nearly impossible to cut into, and so generally the contractor needs to remove an entire section of it instead of being able to just make a tap. So we've spelled that out. In the section for inspections, testing, and charges, we increased the testing frequency for street subgrade and base. We updated infrastructure acceptance submittal requirements to digital formats. And we brought things into alignment with the UDC by citing a 2-year warranty period for public improvements. So we have been getting the 2-year warranty for a number of years since it was changed in the UDC, but now we're updating the design guide to be in alliance with that. So, like I said at the beginning, our next steps is to hold some stakeholder meetings. Then we will go incorporate any changes that come out of that that we would recommend. Take this before the Planning and Zoning Commission and then come back to council for adopting it as referenced by the UDC and Code of Ordinances. So.
All right, that's quite a bit of information. All right, Councilmember Davis.
Has there been any discussion regarding the city standards for impervious cover? Wouldn't that fall under these same categories?
It's in the
No.
UDC. And so it would be a planning. So if council wanted us to sort of look at that in combination with this, we could. And so just for other folks, based on the history, is we currently in the UDC establish maximum limits on impervious coverage per zoning district, and then we sort of define what counts as impervious coverage. And so what we often run into is the pool issue with residential homes. The issue there is where there's a correlation is whatever we set that at, when a new development comes in, the developer needs to make assumptions about how much impervious coverage there will be within the whole development. So in the streets, in any open space, on the residential lots, and design accordingly. And so again, It's a slightly separate deal, but if you'd like us to take a look at that, we can take a look at that with this and kind of run it concurrently to make sure that we understand the implications for this. Happy to do that. We will do that.
Council, any other comments? Question. These new design guides, what current developments will be affected if these things are implemented? I just don't want to put in these fire hydrants that are required every 400 feet when the design has already been made, say, for instance, Carmel or Saddlebrook. At what phase do you think these will be implemented?
So this would be after, we wouldn't require anything to comply with this if they have made any application. So in their master plan or preliminary plat, if they've already started that process, they would be held to today's design guide.
All right.
But if they submit those after this is adopted, then they would need to comply.
And we probably would give a little bit of a window of a few months, because what we don't want is somebody who's getting ready to submit their stuff the next week. They've worked them under the old standards. And so we typically say, we'd rather give you a little bit of time to know they're coming in and get the standard we really want that's going to carry forever. So we would likely do that.
All right. Thank you. Council, any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Woodley.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll move on. Council, any possible updates or information requested from staff? See none, so we'll move on. Council, any possible items you'd like to place on the future agenda? Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, I'd like to have, like I said, a discussion on the impervious cover whenever going forward.
And just so I understand, would you like us to come to council first, or understanding that the issue is generally the inclusion of walkways, pavers, pools,
Things
come
like
up with
that.
something more reasonable for residents? You want us to run that through and then come back to you with it?
That'd be fine.
Okay.
And then I'd like to have a presentation or discussion from the staff on potential going forward for the properties around Randolph Air Force Base with the option of either annexation or implementing a zoning overlay in accordance with the current Texas state laws to give us some options to go forward.
Council, any other items you'd like to place on the future agenda? None, okay. Announcements by council members. Mayor Pro Tem Macaluso.
Just want to say that I enjoyed the Jubilee that we had, and special thanks to the staff that a lot of them put in a very long day that day to try to have an event that ran smoothly, and I think a lot of them did a great job. So just want to tell them that I appreciate their efforts.
Councilmember Davis.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Councilmember Watson.
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Gibson.
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Westbrook.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Hayward.
Yes, I'd like to also thank the staff for the 4th of July Jubilee. I think it was an awesome just to see that there were more people out there enjoying the parade, as well as those that were participating in the parade. I think it was an awesome thing. And then I attended the Northeastern Partnership Luncheon. That's all.
Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I think most people know that my wife passed away last week after a 5-year battle with cancer. She was a trooper. She really fought hard. Proud of her, but it's always hard. But we're going to have a memorial service at Schertz Funeral Home on Monday the 29th at 4 p.m., followed by a reception at Blue Bonnet Palace. Any other details will be coming out, but everybody's welcome. Thank you.
The time is now 7:48. We stand adjourned. Yes, 4 p.m. Monday?